Welcome to the Ghanaian Obstetrician Gynecologist podcast and YouTube channel that discusses safe obstetric and maternity care in Ghana. Please subscribe to this channel if you find the content useful. So you finished your medical training, your postgraduate training, and you've been posted to a unit. How do you deliver safe care within this unit? And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you deliver safe care, ensure safe delivery for every mother, ensure every mother is safe and every baby is safe? How do you deliver world-class maternity services here in Ghana? And where do you start from? It's normally it looks like something big, and everybody goes in with a mindset to do the best and to ensure zero mortality. But how do you start? What framework do you use? What you want to do is to design a process to ensure that standards of care are maintained and improved, and that the service is accountable to the public. And that's essentially what care should be about. A lot of services that we see around us is not accountable at all to the public. The public have no means of sending complaints in, no recourse to give us praise when we do the right thing. So you need to have a service that is constantly maintained, engaging, and improving. Now, how do you do this? You need a system, and a system that normally works is what we call clinical governance. What you want to do is have clinical effectiveness and research, implement auditing your processes, have a risk management process in place, ensure education and training. And the first four pillars of a clinical governance system is what you will be integrally involved in. The next three, public patient involvement, you use your public relations team. IT, you depend on your biostatistics team. Staffing and staff management, you depend on your HR team. So what is clinical effectiveness? You ensure that everything you do is designed to provide the best outcomes for the patient. So you want to give the right care in the right place at the right time with the right information within available resources. And that's what you want to do. How do you do this? Guidelines. And I cannot overemphasize this. It is abominable to start giving care without guidelines. You should have fidelity to guidelines. Some of the most chaotic places are places that have no guidelines. And you realize that if you've seen in some hospitals, every doctor comes in and does what they want. One doctor comes in and quotes from the Royal College, another comes in and quotes from ACOG, another comes in and quotes from Canada. Complete chaos. What this does is it becomes a safety problem because the department is not safe because you are not doing the same thing all the time. Other staff are confused, they do not know what to do for patients, and you become an unsafe department. If you've sat in a plane before, you realize that the safety procedures are the same. And aviation is what we call a high reliability organization. They deliver the care in the same way. And aviation accidents are very low compared to healthcare accidents. It's been said that hospitals are one of the most dangerous places in the world, and it's because there are a lot of places that have no guidelines. The first thing you need to do is implement guidelines and make sure your guidelines are based on evidence. The next thing to do is have a culture for research, write research, investigate, write cases up. Do this as part of your organizational culture. Next thing to do in your organization is audit. Now, what you're doing with audit is you're identifying the things you do and comparing it to standards and making sure you're meeting standards. If your cesarean section rate in your department is 40% and national standard is 15%, why are you so far away from the standard? You will not know unless you audit your cesarean section practice. And how you achieve this in your organization is make sure everybody is doing an audit project, from the house officer to the midwife to the nurse. Everybody chooses an audit project, and at the end of the audit project, there's a quality improvement project to improve care within that audit and make sure you're meeting standards. Risk management. Errors are bound to occur, but you should have a means of identifying these incidents. You should have a template, a reporting system within your organization. You should have a culture of safety where people report incidents. And you realize that in organizations where there's a culture of safety, when incidents occur, the questions we ask is why, how, when, and how do we mitigate these incidents? We don't ask who. People should take responsibility. But if you find an organization where it's always who did it, who did that, then people hide incidents. That's a huge risk to the organization because an error is hidden, error keeps recurring in a system. When an error occurs, babies die, mothers die. You need to have a culture of safety. To have reportable incidents, you have to have a risk manager, somebody who analyzes this risk, meets weekly, monthly to discuss risk within your department. And risk is not just maternal mortality. At that point, it's too late. Risk could be everything from returning to theater, from babies with low abgas, low pH, relaparotomies, all these things. And you should have a risk template where these are reportable incidents that people report on. Education and training, absolutely important. You should do things the same way. And that means that everybody in your organization should be trained to do things the same way. Your cesarean section should be done the same way. Every cesarean section in your organization starts with a safety huddle to discuss the case. You sign in. Once you close the skin, you should sign out. You should do this within all your cesarean sections, and everybody trained to do that. Your swab counts during your cesarean section should be done in a certain way, and everybody should do it that way. Create consistency in your practice. When you're doing swab counts at instrumental repair, everybody should do a swab count before and after. It should be part of the teaching for perineal repair, so that in your organization, the chances of a never event like a swab being left in the vagina is absolutely low because you've trained it into your organization. Okay, so these are things that you need to implement. You need to involve the public, and therefore it means you should have a framework where the public can complain when there's a problem, and you should also have a framework where you can give feedback to the public. You can call for meetings. You should not leave people to frustration and end up on radio stations, and that's where the lawsuits start. If you have a formal complaint process, people can write complaints. They know that they will be heard. Somebody will listen to, somebody will respond. You can have a midwife solely in charge of complaints, responding to these complaints, discussing it within the team. You should use your data, make sure data is kept accurately and confidential, and you should work your biostatistics team and your data team and your IT team to make sure there's fidelity and confidentiality to data. Because if patient records are just kept anyhow and just keep getting missing, that's a danger to care, and that could kill somebody. And you should make sure your staffing meets your requirements. If you're doing 5,000 deliveries in a year, you know how many deliveries you're doing in a month, you know how many deliveries you're doing in a day, and therefore you know the staffing requirements you need in a day. If your plan is to achieve 1-to-1 care, you know the staffing requirements you need to achieve that, and therefore you work towards that. You build proposals towards that. You know how many inductions you can safely do in a day because you know your staffing requirements in a day, and these are all very important if you want to man a serious obstetric unit. So again, you need to look at clinical effectiveness guidelines. You need to have an audit process that compares your practice to standards. You need to have a risk management system, a reporting system for identifying risk without fear and investigating and mitigating these risks. Okay, you need to have all of these in place so that your system is absolutely safe. You need to have an education and training program in place that you consistently deliver. You need to involve patients in the care that you're given. You need to have fidelity to your data. You need to improve and maintain staffing. Thank you. And again, if you enjoy this content, please subscribe to this channel and like this video.